Good morning and afternoon, everyone. My name is Keith Whalen. I'm here with Jackie Dudas. This is a presentation on HCM 10x differences for Lawson. Ms. Dudas has delivered this presentation at various user groups and in webinars before, and she's also done 10x differences for dozens of our upgrade clients. Very well experienced, very condensed set of information, very exciting presentation. We hope you'll find it very informative. A couple of housekeeping notes before I hand it off. One is we will be recording this webinar. It takes us about a week to get it all formatted and posted on YouTube, but you'll be able to rewatch it and share it with your colleagues as well. Obviously, we appreciate that support. Encourage you to watch them in the future. We encourage questions. Type them into the GoToWebinar module or chat, and Mr. Bill Getty will kindly ask them as time allows. And lastly, if you would like us on social media, Bill Getty would greatly appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Ms. Jackie Dudas.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. As Keith said, we're going to be going over some version 10 differences within the HR PR applications. We have this obligatory About RPI slide. This is actually a picture of us recently at Inforum in New York City, just, I guess it was last month at this point. Summer is flying now that we're back to school. This is wrong, we're about 70 plus strong now. We grow very quickly around here. So this is a good group of, or a good bunch of our group, and there's plenty more that were not able to join us that day. So here's our agenda for what we're going to be going through today, back to school edition. First, we're going to talk about Mingle, which is your new user interface where you log in when you are now on version 10. And then we're going to go through some of the new features within each of the modules. It's not going to be all of the new features. It's kind of like a highlight reel of my favorites, just because we don't have a ton of time. I did include all of the things that I like to talk about when I'm allotted an hour, but I think we only have about half an hour today, so we might go over a little bit, but I'm going to try to go through it a little bit more quickly. If you do have questions, though, we can definitely allow plenty of time for questions. And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about change management, so how to prepare your organization for this upgrade and what to expect. So speaking of what to expect, a lot of people go into this upgrade not really knowing how difficult is it going to be, what are my users going to be going through. For the most part, it's a technical upgrade. Your IT people are going to be very heavily involved upgrading everything on the back end. Your end users will do a lot of testing, and they're going to have to get used to Mingle. So Mingle, like I said, it's the new place where you're going to log in. We'll get into it in a little bit more detail in just a couple slides, but it's essentially Portal within a SharePoint wrapper. So it allows for some sharing, storage capabilities, but really your core functional end users are going to have to get used to Mingle, and they're going to have to do a lot of testing. So we often recommend you build out a great testing plan, get scripts if you like to use scripts. Some people don't like to use scripts and just kind of click through their processes, but you want to make sure that you test all of your business functions. Also your self-services, your manager self-service and your employee self-service. If you have it outside the firewall, test that as well. You want to test browser compatibility, because now you're able to use Mingle within not only Internet Explorer, but also Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome. And then any interfaces that you have going to or from Lawson, definitely check those, because like I said, there's a lot of changes going on the back end that I don't know enough to talk about, but there's a lot of changes going on the back end that you want to make sure still work with your interfaces. And then any custom forms that you have Infor or Lawson has created for you, test those out too. Just make sure everything's working. And then the last thing you want to do with your upgrade is get some differences training. Generally, we do a differences training in kind of a presentation format, because there's a lot of changes that you really need to know about, but don't necessarily need to be trained on. Mingle, although it's a different look and feel, it's very, very similar in terms of processing to how Portal was. So what is new in version 10? Version 10 all the way through, I think we're up to 10.08 now is the latest release. But it's the whole thing is an enterprise-wide release that just has provided new enhancements, more process, enhancements, but more functionality that allow users to do things a little bit more quickly, sharing some information with the SharePoint side of it. It's not going to impact how you do business on a day-to-day basis. It's not going to cause a change for your users to go in and they have to relearn how to process payroll or run benefits. It's just a lot of expanded functionality basically in version 10. So Mingle, again, slight delay. Mingle, again, is where you're going to log in when you go into version 10. And just to point it out to you, there's two different types of Mingle. Mingle Foundation is the one we see most commonly. And then Mingle Enterprise is a version that costs a little bit more, has a little bit more functionality. But I think we have maybe like 1 or 2 clients that have used or have purchased and deployed Mingle Enterprise, and I don't think they're even using all the extra social capabilities. I'll show you a screenshot of this, but we're basically mostly going to be talking about Mingle Foundation features because that's what we see most often. So this is when you first log in, this is a view of Mingle Foundation. When you first log in, it's going to take you to the SharePoint side of Mingle. So this is where you can upload documents, put things that you would normally put on your intranet. You can put those here as well. You can see I've uploaded an old presentation here. But this is a place where you might want to put some training, put some standard documents, maybe add-ins, training or something in a Word document to show users how to use the system. And as you can see, I'm on this home button here is highlighted. So that's where, if you click this home button, it'll take you to the SharePoint side of things. The way this works is that any user who has the same security as me, same security role, can see, edit, download things that I've posted here, and vice versa. If I don't have the same security as someone else, I can't see things that they've put up here. But if you use like overall, I think it's a portal role, just a general access role, that you want to put documentation here for all your users to see and for that to be available to them, you can do that. If I clicked the globe here, this will take me to the portal side of Mingle. So just want to point out a couple things here. All these icons across the top, these are part of Mingle. Again, the home takes me to the SharePoint side. This, I think the light bulb is LBI, and then I think this box with the arrow is RQC. But anything that you want to embed up here for your organization, anything that you link out to kind of third-party software, you can do that. You can embed links here that will take you to that. And then over here on this side, we have some contextual applications, and I think my next slide will show us those. But these, let's see what it says. Oh, okay, we'll get back to the contextual applications. But this is Mingle Enterprise. This is an example view of Mingle Enterprise on the portal side. So when you log in, again, it looks pretty similar. You can tell the icons have a little bit of a different look to them up top. But again, you can add any additional icons you'd like to see up there to link out to. And then this is the SharePoint side of Mingle Enterprise. So a lot going on here. So there's alerts, tasks, posts. You have some reports here at the bottom. It's kind of like Facebook for Infor Lawson. So there's a lot going on here. And again, we haven't really seen clients fully use all this functionality, but it is there if you would like to deploy it. And this is also based on your security role. So based on your role, you're going to get sent tasks and notifications that are relevant to you as a user. So back to our contextual applications. Contextual applications are additions to the system, like little widgets kind of to the system that provide you information that is in context with what you're viewing. So some of these, like business intelligence, there's like Yelp, currency converter, some that I'm not sure how often you're going to use, but they're there if you want to use them. There's a really great one for the HR 11, which I'll show you in a few slides. But some of them are more fun than useful probably. World Clocks is a good one too if you have users in different time zones. So this is the manager, and I think I have a better screenshot of this. Yeah, so if you want to add or remove some contextual applications, you have to go over to this little gear button here, and then it'll pop up this manager, and then you can select the ones you want or don't want and move them over to your already added side if you wanted to add them. This next slide shows you how to pop out your contextual applications. So they all live on the right-hand side of your screen here. And if you click these chevron double arrows, it'll show you, this is the print manager actually, so it'll show you the print manager reports that I've already run. If I double-clicked one of these, it would take me to the output of that report. It's not going to take me to that report, but it's a quick way to go back and get a report you've recently run. The paper with the question mark is the documentation info center, or help basically, and it'll link you out to help user guides that are on the website. And then the star is another way to do like bookmarks or shortcuts. Generally, there will be a star at the top of whatever form you're on, and then if you click that star, it'll add it to these shortcuts, and then once you click that star, it'll show you the shortcuts that you've put there. Your setup options are all still going to be in the same place your user options and your content. It's just in this gear button now, which takes the place of, I think it was a sheet of paper with check marks on it in version 9. So you're still going to go in there to set up your bookmark subscriptions, change your data area, all that stuff. And here's a view of it. So I have this, everyone will get a copy of the presentation, and if you wanted to enter new favorites, you can do it using this URL. But don't worry, all of your favorites should come over with your upgrade. Just double check with your IT team, but it's more than possible for them to bring it over. You might just have to remind them. But this is just a view again of the user options section here in version 10. There's some unchanged navigation. You still have your action buttons and your special actions that appear at the top of your screen, like your add, change, delete. You can have them as text or icons, and that's something that you would set up in user options, I believe. Your related forms still exist. Some of that has been expanded a little bit more relations between forms. You still have your form help and your field help, your drill around, your define. And I'd like to always talk about flowcharts and menus, because there's some users who have never seen them. I think I have them in here. We'll come back to it. But I like to talk about flowcharts and menus because some users have never seen, if you type in HR or BN or PAMN, it'll take you to a whole menu or a flowchart of what is set up in that system code, which is very helpful. Sometimes you don't know where you're going. Sometimes you're training a new employee and it's hard to explain the structure to them. But if you go to HRMN, it lays out the whole system for you, and it's very nice to see. Hotkeys, these are the delivered hotkeys. Some people live by these, some people never use them. I live by a couple, but I don't use all of them. So if you wanted to look at these and learn any of them, they'll be here in the presentation. Your form numbering hasn't changed. There's kind of like a general rule that Lawson tried to create with your 0 to 99s being your setup and data entry. Then you have your update jobs, your reports and listings, your purge programs, and then all your utilities. Again, it's kind of not 100% true. There's some 100 series that are reports, like the HR 105 and the PA 105. But again, this is all still staying the same. All the screen names or numbers you know and love, you're going to still get to use those here. Couple more general navigation. This is stuff that has changed. So your data area is going to appear right next to the token name of the screen that you're on. So before it said welcome Jackie at the top, prod. Now it's going to say prod right next to the token. If you don't have it set up to appear there all the time, you can hover over it. I don't know if you can tell here, my mouse was hovered over, and it'll show this little drop down that shows you where you are. So if you don't have it set up like that all the time and you want to do that last minute check to make sure you're really in test when you're testing, just hover over the token and it'll show you. And then over here we have your log out button. So some users didn't like that you couldn't really log out before. Now you have that capability in 10. Oh, here's our flowcharts menu. Sorry, with the back to school stuff, things got moved around a little bit. But basically, I've typed in HRMN here, and it shows me all these options that I have for human resources. And here's a great example of the flowchart that exists. So it's the order in which things are set up. And if you click any of these buttons, it'll take you to that screen. So this is very helpful. Another piece of general navigation, your status messages are now going to actually appear on the screen as opposed to in the status message bar in Internet Explorer. So again, you can use Mingle in Mozilla Firefox and Chrome. And your status messages also have this really neat feature where once you log in, all of your actions or inquiries are going to be saved in your status bar history trail. So I've expanded the status bar history trail here. This is an arrow that normally faces up. You can click it, and once it's up, this will all be expanded. And for each session that you have logged in, it's going to track what you've done. So you can see I kind of just hit next, next, next to get through here. But anywhere where it's blue and hyperlinked like this, if I click that, it's going to take me back to that form for that employee and inquire on it, which is a very quick way to get back. Sometimes you're hiring a stack and you get up for a second, you can't remember whether you hired John Smith or not. Just click your status bar history trail. You can verify it and click on it to make sure that it actually got into the system. Another general navigation piece, this is new within one of the later releases, is the quick submit. So instead of having to click submit, you can just click your quick submit, which is like a target icon there at the top, and it'll just submit it without asking you again. So a lot of people really like that one. Another piece of general navigation is your list view. So how list view works is it takes data that's normally shown as a single record on a form and displays it in list view. So my example here is the PAO2 position screen. And I don't know if the contrast is good enough where you can see it, but above all these columns, there's a little white area where you would enter criteria for a search. And you can still use your asterisks to complete the search, but you put in, whatever information you're looking for here, hit enter, and it's just going to return the results that are relevant to your search criteria. Once you find the piece of information that or the record that you're looking for, you double click it, and it's going to take you to the standard view of whatever screen you're on. So if you double click it, it would take you to the regular old PAO2. Up here in the top left, we have this show form button. And if you don't want to use list view, you know exactly what you're looking for, you can just go right to the show form. If you're on the traditional view, there's a show list button, so you can click that and go to the show list. If you decide that you hate list view and you never want to see it again, you can go into your user options and turn it off. And also, if you decide that you like it for some screens but not others, you can turn it off for some screens. So you just go into that user options again and put in the screens. I think it's the screens you don't want to see it for rather than the screens you do want to see it for. And here's a list of list view screens. It's not a complete list. There's a ton more, and with each release, they're creating more list view screens. So just go check out your favorites. If it's not in list view, you might have to go into user options and just turn it on for the first time. But there's a lot of good ones in there, and it's so helpful to be able to search like that. Oh, here's our status bar history trail. Okay, so now we're going to get into some HR and PA updates, module-specific updates. So employee groups is our first update. There is a new field on the employee group HR 55 screen that allows you to inactivate employee groups. So what that does is if you set an employee group as inactive, it maintains the employee membership as static. So if I want to keep a group as grandfathered, I'll just turn it off, and if another employee's criteria changes that would let them into the group, they're going to get blocked. They're not going to be able to get into it. If you want to run it in update to allow an employee or outside employees to be able to filter in and out of it, you can run the HR 156 and just specify that you're running it for an inactive group and which group you're running it for. This is also good if you want to kind of create a group in advance you know you're going to be using once some changes happen in the future. But if you don't want to quite turn it on yet or allow people to get into it, you just create the group and then set it as inactive. In addition, updating has been expanded for employee groups to allow you to update up to 2,000 groups at a time. Previously it was 800. Some people say, who has 2,000 employee groups? But some people do have 2,000 employee groups. So this is great, great update for some of the bigger organizations that have a lot of employee groups. Couple updates to the HR 11. This screenshot here, you can see I've right-clicked on the employee number. You have the ability to attach documents to the employee. Based on employee number. So you get to it by right-clicking attachments, and then it'll bring you to a screen, and that's where you can set a URL to a document that's going to live out on your server. So you'll have to talk to your IT team, see where they want that information to go, set up a folder, but this way the document that you attach is specific to that employee. So you're able, maybe you want to have like an original resume or something to that effect that you want to attach to that employee. You're able to do that, and it'll live right on the server. Address field length updates. Address 1 and 2 has been increased to accept 57 characters. A lot of fields in the system for the version 10 update have been increased to accept 60 characters. Address only accepts 57 because that's the length that BSI accepts. So that's why it's that kind of strange number. There's a new personal email field on the address tab. A little floating screenshot below here. But this is where you can track if an employee wants you to have their Gmail, Hotmail, email address. If they want you to have that, they can put that in here. One thing about this is when you're hiring in an employee on the PA 52.4, if you have email in there, whatever email they've put in before is actually going to go into their work email address. So just keep that in mind. You're still going to have to kind of move their personal email to this field, and be careful that that personal email address that they entered on their applicant record isn't moved into the work email address. There's a new voluntary self-identification of disability, just a third option that says I do not wish to answer. So previously it was yes, no. Now you can also say do not wish to answer. And there's also multiple ethnicity identification for employees. So this is a new screen included with this, but on the personal tab, there's this button right here that'll take you to a screen on which you can track multiple ethnicities. So let me go back one. You still have your original ethnicity field over here. And then if you, once you have access to the HR 28, the new screen, this button will appear and it'll take you to the screen where you can add multiple ethnicities if an employee identifies as such. This HR 28 is not updated by your personal action. So the original ethnicity field is, but you can't update this with personal action. So just remember that's an extra step. You have to come in here and update this screen after you've hired them or processed a personal information change.
Jackie, we have a question.
Sure.
Should be a simple one. What version of HR are you showing presently?
So these are actually, well, it's version 10. These are actually a lot of screenshots I've grabbed from different sandboxes I've been in. It's all at least version 10, all at least 10.06, I think. If they're maybe not seeing a specific feature I've shown, it's probably in 10.07 or 10.08. But I don't think I've really gotten to any of those newer updates yet. A lot of them were regulatory updates in the 10.07 release, so they weren't as exciting as some of these other ones.
Thank you.
No problem. How hard and fast is our deadline? I'm noticing the time here. We'll just keep going? Okay. Another new screen we have here is the employee assignment inquiry, the HR 11.4. And this shows your two tabs that are on the HR 11 on this new screen. It's nice if you want users to only have access to that kind of information about an employee, but I think the real reason they made it is so that they could do a list view for HR 11. So just fewer fields that you can kind of cram into a list. And this is an awesome update because now you get to search if you only know part of a name, if an employee calls and you can only understand part of the name they're saying, or you know they're in one department, or you want to find everyone in one department, you just enter that criteria and you already have your list run for who's in that department or who's in a position. Very helpful. This is the contextual application that I was mentioning before that's awesome for HR. So once you're on HR 11 and you're inquired on an employee, if you click this little, it's like a little blue Rolodex card in your contextual applications on the side here, it's going to show you 4 headers of employee information. It's going to show you the history, ACH distribution, payroll year-to-date totals, and then your benefits and absence information. So if an employee calls in and they want to know some of this information really quick, you don't have to do a lot of drilling around. You can come right here and get all that information very quickly. A couple more updates in HRPA. Your jobs and position descriptions have been expanded from 30 characters to 60 characters. This is another one that I love. I've done a lot of position re-implementations where we were really limited with the 30 characters here. And you kind of had to condense it down to something that didn't really make much sense. But now we have all 60 characters that we can use. If you're thinking about going to Global HR, all the long descriptions are 60 characters in Global HR too. So that's very helpful. And if you're kind of cleaning up your positions, keep that in mind. If you're going to go to Global HR, you'll have that space in Global HR as well. The city field, this is throughout the entire application, not just in the HRPA modules. It's been increased from 18 characters to 30 characters, so just more space there. And then if you have multiple address lines filled out on the HR 11, like the address line 1, 2, it's all going to display if you print your W-4s out of Lawson. And then a couple of personal action updates. The new value field, again, increased to 60 characters. I think if you update your address line 1 to something that's 60 characters, it'll accept it, but then cut off those extra 3 characters because it'll still only accept 57 characters because of that limitation with BSI. And then there's a new personal action history audit. So whenever a personal action is added, it's going to show you the create date, the create time, and the create user. And then if anyone has changed that personal action before the PA100 is run, it's going to show you who it was changed by, the change date, change time. So just some extra auditing there. A couple reporting updates. PA222 certification listing now shows all 4 digits of the year. Your PA223 starters and leavers report shows the employee assigned position. Previously it just showed the job. Now it's going to show you the job and the position so they know exactly what job they are starting into or leaving out of. And a couple additional parameters added here to the PA105 and the HR105. Throughout the version 10 updates, there's a lot of program and reporting updates that are similar to this, just like additional parameters, additional functionality, better output. So definitely check your release notes because some of them aren't as exciting as these, so I didn't want to put them all on here, but if you live by a certain report, if you wished a certain report was better, they may have improved it, so definitely go check that out. Into benefits a little bit here. This is your HR13 dependent screen. A couple updates. First we have dependent type right here. They've added a new option to select domestic partner. And then down here, over on the right-hand side, we have a new date field called verified. So if you track dependents that are students and you need to track that you verified that a dependent is a student, you can put the date that you verified that in right here. Couple more benefits updates. So the BN242 benefit statement has been enhanced where you can it enables the user to print multiple one-page benefit statements. So it's not just by employee. I think it's employee group, you can also print that by. On the BN17 coverage screen, there's a new, so if you can picture that screen, there's columns and there used to just be a maximum dependent enrollment rule. There's another column now with a minimum dependent enrollment rule. So if I'm going into ESS and I'm trying to enroll in a family plan, but I'm trying to enroll in a family plan, but I don't have any dependents, it's gonna block me from doing that because I don't meet that minimum dependent enrollment rule. So that's a good way to kind of block anyone out from accidentally selecting the wrong plan. In employee drill or in drill for the benefits deductions, used to show like the oldest was first and you'd have to scroll all the way down to get to the newest. Now it's going to show in the opposite order, so that's just a quicker enhancement to get you to what you're looking for quicker. And then this is new, I think in 10.07 or 10.08, if you wanted to require that an HSA is selected before you enroll in an HDHP, you can set that up. I think it's on the BSO3. You would link those plans and require you to enroll in one before the other. So I actually have a client right now who wanted to be able to do that, and they're able to do that without any customization at this point. So absence management here. If you reverse a personal action, the LP35 and LP100 have been enhanced to support that action reversal. So once you reverse that action, they're going to also update to change if there's any information that would change the employee's absence enrollment or records, that'll reverse as well. And then if an employee goes out on leave, for FMLA, there's a calculation put into the system that's going to automatically restore the 12-week entitlement after they've worked 12 months after they've come back from their FMLA. So that's just another manual thing you don't have to do. The system is going to do that for you. Couple updates to the LP51. There's a new personal email field on the LP51. So if an employee is going to be out, they can't check their work email address, you can put in a personal email here. This does not talk to the HR11 personal email field, so you would have to come here and physically put that in there. There's also a text field. I think there's a new memo tab and field at the bottom. You get 60 characters to add any additional notes you want to about the leave. And then there's drill around on LP51 records. It's going to show you a little bit more information about the leave. It'll show you the leave date, reason for leave, estimated return, and I think that's it. But a little bit more information surrounding everything, or about everything about the leave will show you right on that drill around. Another new screen here. LP 199, this is used for closing unprocessed service data. So if you have employees that receive flat amount accruals that are independent of any service hours or earnings, sometimes that can build up in the system and slow down your LP and your PR processing. So if you want to kind of close that out, get it off out of the system, speed things up a little bit, try the LP 199. A few parameters down here for how you want to handle all that information, but you can kind of close it out, get it out of the way, and speed up some of your processing a little bit. A couple payroll screens here. So we have a couple screenshots here. This is the HR01 process level screen, and then over here is a little screenshot from the PR160. So the update I'm referring to is on the PR160, you have a new option to select company or process level name. So if your organization uses a legal name that's different from what your employees are used to seeing, you can put that familiar name on the HR01 or HR00 in this direct deposit company name right here. And then on the PR160, you can select which one you want them to see, whether you want them to see what you put on the company level or at the process level. Another new screen here, the PR170 positive pay file screen. So if you wanted to just verify, send this to the bank, verify that your checks are ready for cashing, you can do that via the PR170. There's also, on the finance side, there's the CB170, another new screen, does exactly the same thing. A couple more payroll updates here. This first one is great because we had a client that had this as a customization, and now with this delivered functionality, they're able to remove that customization. But on the PR260, there's a new payment detail field where you can choose to suppress employee bank information if you don't want whoever's running the PR260 to be able to see that. Expanded pay code functionality, you're now able to use or create up to 999 pay codes. I think it was 99 before, so now almost 1,000. PR134, this is a great update. So when you're running the PR134, there's a new option, this is screenshots from the 134, new option to skip new hires with a mid-pay period hire date. And what that does is that if you skip them, choose to skip them, it'll print them out on a separate exception report, and you can go back and view them and verify if you actually need to create pay records for them or not. And you do have the option to choose the hire date or the adjusted hire date there. So if they're a rehire, you can capture that as well. Then a couple updates to your direct deposit screen. First, if you go to delete an employee direct deposit record, it's just going to say, hey, are you sure you want to do that? Give you a warning to confirm that was your actual intent. And then on the HR10, there's a new topic of DD for tracking any history around employee direct deposits. New memo tab and field added on the PR 35.2 and 36. And the way this works below any kind of form that's set up with this table, it's going to follow each one of these pay records that you have here. It's going to follow it all the way to history. Okay, into employee and manager self-service. New personal email field on the employee or employee self-service, and if you allow them to update that, that's going to hit their HR11 new personal email field. There's additional contact phone numbers that an employee can add, and that's going to live on the HR20. So if you need to go in on the back end and update that or edit any of that, that's what will get updated once the employee enters it on ESS. Multiple certifications for an employee are now allowed. So it used to be like if an employee had 2 RN certifications but in different states. Previously it would say that it was like a duplicate. Now it's going to allow you to enter both of those. The 2-question format for ethnicity, so if an employee is onboarding and it asks them to fill out their ethnicity, it's going to support that 2-question format. First, are you Hispanic, yes or no? And then second question, how do you identify? And then a web user ID is going to be captured on all benefits changes. So initial enrollment, annual enrollment, it's going to capture their web user ID, but it'll be preceded by a W so that you know it was changed on the web. New logout feature in EMSS, just like the logout one we saw right in Portal or Mingle. You'll have that new logout feature as well. And then in your annual enrollment, benefits enrollment, you're going to get this disclaimer when you close out of it. If you haven't gone all the way through and saved your changes yet, it's not going to save them when you leave, but it'll at least tell you it's not saving them. So it's just going to give you 2 warnings. The first one, hey, heads up, this isn't going to get saved. And if you continue the process of closing out, it's going to say, hey, we didn't save it. So next we have an add-ins update. This is the only update I know of within add-ins so far. It's the drill around feature has now been included within add-ins. So what you would do is when you're filling out a query, you just fill it out as you normally would. And then over on the map wizard, before you run the query, you're going to select fields that you want to be drillable. So company is always drillable. It's always just going to be standard drillable. But I've also selected employee here. Go ahead and run the query. It's going to return my output. You can see here, company and employee have an asterisk next to them, so that means that I've added them as drillable. So I go to, you have to click in a field, so I've gone to the first employee record here, and gone back to the Info Lawson tab and done Lawson drill on that specific employee record, and it's going to pop up a drill around box, very similar to what you see in question.
Jackie, we have a question. Is the memo field on PR 35 for each individual record?
Yes. So let me just get back there real quick if I can. Okay. Yeah, so just like any of the additional info, user analysis, contract, and just how all of that works to be related to each individual record here, the memo field will work just the same. So yes. All right, let's get back real quick. Okay. So yeah, so once you have done your drill around, it's going to show you, pop up a drill around box that looks very similar to what you see in Mingle or Portal. You have a lot of information here. You do need to be connected to the server or connected as you would if you were accessing Mingle. So this is going to update, but your query is not. So this is going to be real-time information, but your query is not going to change. So not sure how often you're going to really use this rather than just going into Mingle and drilling around, but it's there if you need it. I'd recommend maybe just get in the habit of doing it. So if you pull a query and you're missing something and you want to just double check something real quick, you can quickly drill around on your employee. But not sure how often you're going to use it as opposed to just going into the system. So now that you've heard about all these great features, you're dying to know when can you have them, when can you get started on your upgrade. How long does it take? Well, depending on the size and complexity of your organization, how many resources you have available right now, we generally say about 6 months. Again, it could take a little bit less, could take a little bit longer if you have a lot of custom screens, custom things going on. So general ballpark is about 6 months. Now for a little bit of change management. Too many animations here. Thought it would be cool, but it's just hard to do. Okay, so for change management, one of the main things you want to make sure you do is communicate to your end users the windows in which they're going to have a role. So like your functional end users, they're really not going to be engaged all the time, the whole time. They're going to need to develop a test plan and then execute those test scripts. So tell them that. Say, we're doing this upgrade, but you need to make sure that you're available these weeks for testing. Just let them know when they're really going to have to pay attention to the upgrade. Definitely leverage your application exploration and your testing. So as soon as your system is ready, as soon as the IT team has it stood up, give them their access to it, get them in there, allow them to click around. They can view their data. They can see that it's really not that big of a difference. Yes, it's stark white and you have to get used to the new interface, but it's you can still find all your information in the same place as you were getting it before. Embed a deep link to Lawson. So this one, if you can remember all the way back in the beginning when I was talking about Mingle and when you first log in, it takes you to the SharePoint side. This essentially means that you would have already clicked to the portal side, and then the link that appears when you're on the portal side is the link that you're going to either embed into your intranet or send out to your users to use. So that just eliminates that extra click from them getting from the SharePoint side to the portal side. Eliminate any confusion. Somebody comes in on a Monday morning, it doesn't look like it did on Friday, and they call IT. Just embed that deep link. Don't have any question there. And then they can still access that SharePoint side if they need to. Oh, deliver focused differences training. So again, your training really probably isn't going to be like hands-on. You don't need to be in a training room where each user is logged in. You can do that if you want, but a lot of these things, like you could tell, they're not brain surgery. It's just getting used to the way it looks. There's a couple new changes, couple enhancements. So just get them used to the system. We want to show them the new features and the new navigation for Mingle. We do deliver differences training, and you can even take this presentation, if you really wanted to, and put it on your Mingle site just so that they have it to be able to view. And then WebEx and record. Whatever training you do get, WebEx it so that users that aren't physically able to be there can still see it, and record it and post it to your intranet so that way that whenever you're onboarding, that way new users can see it and learn a little bit about Mingle as well. So that is it for the presentation. If there's any more questions, I'll take them.
Jackie, there aren't any more questions. However, a lot of positive feedback. A couple of
thanks, guys.
people that are already on version 10 said they learned some new things. So I really appreciate the effort you made.
I actually would like to take a quick minute to compliment Jackie. Obviously, she's a fantastic presenter. You know, these presentations, they put work into, they evolve. It's always impressive to see the new creative things and content that they put in. I'm obviously very grateful to have such a tremendous asset as part of the RPI team, especially for projects. You know, presentation is the stuff we do on the side. And when you look at Chris earlier and now Jackie, I'm really impressed. And I do want to point out that every time I see these, I think to myself, let's get them to do some more presentations. Mid-September, Jackie and Melissa Olson are teaming up to do a presentation on 10 do-it-yourself projects for Lawson HR Payroll S3. So not new product focus, just things you can do right now to make your system work better. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and a lot of that is geared towards preparing it for global HR too. So if you're thinking about moving that way, a lot of these kind of get you in that mindset. You start doing the things that you're already going to need to do if you do move to global HR.
And just shameless advertise, but they'll be doing this live at Midwest Lug next week.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So one of the feature presentations. So we invite you to attend if you're going to that event.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.